The Plea in the rain. The sky over Zelkar 5 was always dark. Thick gray clouds hung above the alien city, and acid rain dripped from steel rooftops. The streets were wet, cold, and full of shadows. It was not a place for kindness, and definitely not a place for humans. But Jace walked slowly down the cracked path, his boots splashing in the shallow puddles. He kept his coat tight around his body and his head low. He was just passing through, or so he thought. Then he felt it, a tug on his arm. He stopped. A woman stood there shaking, her skin a pale silver blue soaked from head to toe. Her long dark hair stuck to her cheeks, her eyes were wide and desperate. "Please," she whispered, her voice barely louder than the rain. "Help my son. I'll do literally anything. Anything you want." Jace blinked. "What?" She dropped to her knees in the middle of the wet street, ignoring the stares of nearby aliens who watched but said nothing. "My son is dying," she said. "He's burning up. No one will help us. They say his illness is cursed." Jace looked around. No one was coming to help her. No one even cared. "I'm not a doctor," Jace said quietly. "You're human," the woman said quickly, her eyes shining with hope. "You're kind. You have healing tools. Old tech. I heard stories. Please, if there's even a small chance." Jace hesitated. Helping her could be dangerous. The locals didn't like humans interfering with their kind. But he looked at the woman again, kneeling in the rain, soaked and trembling. "What's your name?" he asked. "Ilaria," she said. He sighed. "Take me to him." Ilaria got up fast, grabbed his hand and pulled him through the narrow back streets of the city. They walked past closed stalls, flickering signs, and broken bots lying in the mud. The air smelled of oil and smoke. Finally, they reached a small metal hut hidden behind a crumbling wall. Inside, it was dim and cold. The roof leaked. A child lay on a thin blanket in the corner, curled up and shaking. His skin was cracked and purple, his breathing weak. Jace stepped forward slowly. The boy's eyes were barely open. "This is Kale," Ilaria said. "He's 7 cycles old. He hasn't spoken in days. I tried everything, but nothing works." Jace dropped his pack and opened it. Inside were some old Earth medical tools. He had used them to patch himself up during long trips. One device scanned for infection, another injected quick stabilizing fluids. He didn't know if they'd help an alien boy. He knelt beside Kale and placed the scanner near the boy's chest. The screen flashed red. Multiple organ systems were shutting down. "He won't last long," Jace said. "He's dying." Ilaria wiped her tears. "Then please, try." Jace took out a small vial, an old Earth-made formula designed to boost immune responses. It had worked once on a reptilian species. Maybe it would work again. "This might hurt," he warned and carefully injected the serum into Kyle's arm. For a second, nothing happened. Then Kale arched his back and let out a sharp scream. His body shook. His eyes opened wide, glowing, with a strange golden light. Sparks of heat shimmered across his skin. "What's happening to him?" Ilaria cried. "I don't know," Jace shouted. "This isn't normal." Kale stopped screaming. He fell back onto the blanket, breathing harder but more steadily. Jace checked the scanner. The infection markers were still there, but weaker. The boy's vitals were improving. Slightly. Barely. It worked. "A little," Jace said. Ilaria collapsed beside her son and held him close. "Thank you. Thank you." "I didn't fix him," Jace said. "He's not safe yet. This might just be a delay." "But you gave him a chance," she whispered. Jace looked at her. Wet hair. Red eyes, trembling hands. She wasn't just a mother. She was someone who had begged strangers, risked shame, and fought fear just for her child. That meant something. Suddenly, loud footsteps echoed outside. Ilaria's eyes widened. "They found us," she whispered. "We have to hide." "Who?" Jace asked. "The ones who want Kale dead," she said, panic in her voice. "They think his sickness is a curse that could spread." Jace looked at the door. More than just a child's life was now at stake. The boy who shouldn't survive Kale should have been dead. No one in Ilaria's sector had ever survived the blood rot infection. Not adults, not children. The disease attacked every organ, melting blood cells and frying the nervous system. But now, Kale was breathing. Faint, but steady. That should have been impossible. Jace sat beside the boy, his back against the cold metal wall. Rain still, tapped on the roof like soft bullets. His clothes were soaked. His fingers ached, but his mind stayed sharp. He kept staring at Kale's skin. It was glowing. Not bright but faint, like tiny golden lines running under the surface. Almost like veins, but not human veins. Why is his skin doing that? Jace asked quietly. Ilaria sat on the floor, her arms around her knees. It started weeks ago, after the fever came. The healers said it was the sign of corruption, a mark of ancient punishment. That's why no one would help us. That's not punishment, Jace said. That's evolution. She looked at him confused. I think your boy is changing, Jace said. Not dying. Kale stirred, his little hand twitched. Then, crash. The door flew open. 3 tall alien soldiers stormed in. Their armor was dull black, marked with red sigils. They didn't speak. They pointed stun rifles at Jace. Step away from the child. One of them barked. Ilaria screamed and covered Kale with her body. Please don't hurt him. Jace stood up slowly, both hands raised. Back off. He's not dangerous. You're a human, another growled. You don't belong here. That child is cursed. Jace narrowed his eyes. He's sick. I saved him. The 3rd soldier stepped closer. No, you changed him. Jace could feel the tension in the air. One mistake, one wrong move, and they'd shoot. He had no weapon in hand, but he had his mind. All right, Jace said slowly. Let me take him. We'll leave the city. You'll never see us again. No, the leader replied coldly. That child will be destroyed before the sickness spreads. Jace's eyes flicked toward his pack. A small metal orb inside it. A sonic pulse grenade. Non-lethal but enough to blind and deafen in a small room. He had one shot. Ilaria met his eyes and gave the smallest nod. Jace moved. He dived for the pack, hit the button on the orb, and threw it hard. Boom! Light exploded. The soldiers screamed. Jace grabbed Kale with one arm, pulled Ilaria with the other, and sprinted out the back door into the alley. They ran through the rain, through narrow cracks between buildings, hearts pounding. Behind them, alarms began to howl. They didn't stop running until they reached the underground water tunnels far beneath the city. Jace set Kale down gently on a dry patch of floor. The boy was sweating, breathing hard. We can't keep doing this, Jace said, his voice tight. He needs proper care. There's nowhere safe, Ilaria said. They won't stop hunting him. Then we go off-grid, Jace replied. I know places outside the city, old ruins, forgotten labs. She looked scared. He'll die out there. No, Jace said. I've seen this before. A long time ago, during the war, there were children born with strange abilities. They weren't sick, they were enhanced. You mean like a mutation? Jace nodded. Maybe your boy isn't just infected, maybe he's becoming something new, something more. Kale moaned. His body jerked. Then his eyes opened. But they were not the same. They glowed a soft golden hue like molten metal. His voice was weak but clear. Water, he whispered. Jace quickly pulled out a canister and gave him a sip. The boy drank slowly. Then Kyle looked at Ilaria. Mama, he said. Ilaria gasped. Tears filled her eyes. You spoke. Kyle, you spoke. Kyle blinked. His little hand reached for hers. Jace turned away, trying not to let them see the emotion in his own face. But inside, he knew. This wasn't just about saving a child anymore. Something much bigger was happening. Something the whole galaxy wouldn't be ready for. Unwanted attention, In the quiet of the underground tunnel, something strange began to happen. Cale's breathing had steadied, and the glowing lines under his skin pulsed softly, like a heartbeat made of light. Ilaria had finally fallen asleep, beside him, her hand gently over his chest. Jace didn't sleep. He watched the tunnel entrance, one hand on his weapon, eyes tired but alert. That's when he heard it, not footsteps, not voices, but a humming noise, low, mechanical, getting closer. Jace stood instantly. He grabbed his scanner and checked the motion radar. Something was moving above them. Multiple signals. Triangle-shaped markers. Drones. His heart sank. They found us, he muttered. He shook Ilaria awake. We have to go, now. She blinked, confused. What is it? Recon drones, armed, tracking Cale's heat signature. Ilaria looked down at her son, still weak, still glowing. Jace pulled out a heat shield blanket and wrapped it over Cale. It would only buy them a few minutes. They ran, up through a maintenance shaft, into an old transport depot. The ground shook as drones hovered overhead, scanning the area with red beams. Jace and Ilaria ducked behind broken cargo boxes, heartbeats pounding like war drums. Then, target located, a robotic voice said above them. The roof shattered, a massive stun net dropped from the sky, crackling with blue energy. Kyle cried, out. Jace reacted fast. He rolled forward, grabbed the net, and tore it free using his shock knife. The electricity ran up his arms, burning his skin, but he didn't stop. He slashed the net open. Run! He shouted. They sprinted down the corridor as security bots dropped from the sky. Ilaria held Cale tightly, whispering to him, Hold on, baby, hold on. Jace fired a pulse shot over his shoulder, knocking one of the drones into the wall. But they were being followed, not just bots, people. At the far end of the corridor, 5 armored aliens appeared, guards of the city syndicate. Their armor bore the sigil of the Black Order, a secretive group that cleansed anything unnatural. Their leader, tall and wrapped in dark metal, stepped forward. Give us the child, he said in a cold, calm voice. You're protecting a danger to all life. Jace stood in front of Ilaria and Cale, gun raised. He's just a kid, Jace said. He's not a threat. The alien leader tilted his head. Not yet. Then he raised his hand, and all 5 soldiers aimed their weapons. Last warning, the alien said. Step aside, human, Ilaria whispered. Please don't let them take him. Jace stared down the hallway, then glanced at the boy behind him. Something inside him snapped. He threw a smoke bomb. Boom! Smoke filled the hallway. Blinded and coughing, the soldiers fired wildly, but Jace was already moving. He grabbed Ilaria's arm and pulled her through a hidden service door behind the cargo crates. They escaped into the lower sectors. Places the Black Order avoided. They didn't stop running until they reached an abandoned biotech lab hidden in the roots of the city. The entrance was sealed, but Jace hacked the panel. The doors groaned open, revealing darkness and silence. Inside there were broken machines, shattered test tubes, and faded signs from an old Earth-human science crew, long dead now. Jace turned on a small light and checked Cale. The boy was barely awake, but his body was warm, stronger. His pulse is better, Jace said. Whatever's inside him, it's fighting back. Ilaria touched Cale's cheek and smiled softly, though her eyes held fear. They won't stop chasing us, will they? Jace shook his head. Not until they know what he really is, or until he's gone. Ilaria closed her eyes. Then we need answers. Jace looked around the lab. Dust, ruins. But somewhere in here, maybe there was a clue, a file, a record, something about hybrids or genetic research. He had a bad feeling this wasn't the first time someone like Cale had been born. The hidden power within the lab was dead. No lights, no sound. Just broken machines and the faint smell of chemicals that had long stopped working. Dust floated in the air like ghosts of the past. But in the center of the ruin, something was very much alive. Cale. He lay on a worn metal table, wrapped in a heat blanket. His small chest rose and fell steadily, and under his skin the strange golden glow was no longer faint. It pulsed, like living light. Jace stood beside him, flipping through a half-functional datapad he had salvaged from the ruined terminal. Its cracked screen flickered with half-lost records. This place was a human-run gene lab, he muttered. Long before Earth fell, they were testing DNA splicing using alien tissue with human strands. Ilaria stood nearby, arms crossed. You're saying my son was made in a lab? No, Jace said. I'm saying your bloodline might have been touched by something human, maybe generations ago. Kyle just triggered it. She looked at her son, her voice trembling. But why him? Why now? Kyle stirred. The lights above flickered. A few pieces of broken equipment vibrated, then stopped. Ilaria stepped back, startled. He did that. Jace frowned. That's new. Kyle opened his eyes. Golden light. Not just in his pupils. His entire iris was glowing like a burning sun. His hands twitched. Then, his fingers moved and the broken datapad near Jace suddenly turned on. Fully powered. Jace stepped back. Okay. That's impossible. Kyle sat up slowly. He looked tired, but awake. Aware. He looked at Ilaria. Mama, why do they want to hurt me? He asked in a soft voice. Tears rushed to her eyes. She knelt beside him. Because they're afraid. But you're not a monster. You're my child. Kale's small fingers clutched her hand. The room around them warmed as if the very air reacted to his feelings. Jace stepped forward slowly. Kale, do you feel anything strange in your body? The boy nodded. It burns sometimes, but not like before. Now it listens to me. It? Jace asked. The light inside. Jace sat down slowly, thinking. This is more than infection, more than mutation. Kyle is tapping into something old. Something that connects life, machines, energy. You think he's dangerous? Ilaria asked. I think he's powerful, Jace said. And that makes him a target. Suddenly, Kale flinched, his eyes widened. He looked toward the lab door. They're coming, he whispered. Jace ran to the console. The security feed, barely working, showed red figures moving. Through the tunnels. They tracked us again, Jace said. They must have followed the energy surge. How many? Ilaria asked. Jace stared at the screen. Too many. He pulled out a device from his bag, a collapsible energy shield. This will hold the door for a few minutes, but we can't fight them all. Ilaria looked desperate. What do we do? Kale stood up. On his own. I can help, he said. You need rest, Jace said quickly. No, Kale said. I can feel them. I can see them through the walls. He stepped toward the door, hands glowing faintly. The metal around him seemed to bend slightly as he moved. Kyle, wait, Ilaria shouted. But the boy raised his hand, and the steel door slammed shut on its own, locking tight. Jace stared in shock. That door has no power. Kale turned around. It does now. The lab lights buzzed. Then they all turned on at once. Old machines, dead for years, lit up. Screens blinked to life. A hologram appeared in the center of the room, a human scientist speaking words from long ago. Project LX, Human-Alien Hybrid Program. Purpose: create biological links between energy-based life forms and solid species. The recording glitched, then cut off. Lux, Jace whispered. Kyle, that's what you are. Kyle looked down at his glowing hands. I don't want to hurt anyone, he said softly. Jace placed a hand on his shoulder. Then let's make sure no one hurts you. The bounty on their heads, the next morning the world changed. Large red posters covered the city walls. Jace saw one as he climbed, out of the hidden tunnel with Ilaria and Kale. A bounty notice written in 3 alien languages. Wanted. Human male, dangerous. Alien female, traitor. Hybrid child, unstable. Dead or alive. Reward, 50,000 units. Ilaria gasped. Kyle clutched her hand. Jace just stared at the poster. They've turned us into fugitives, he muttered. It die. Wasn't just the soldiers now. It was bounty hunters, mercenaries, civilians looking for fast money. Everyone would be after them. They changed clothes in a shady merchant's back room, hiding Kale's glow under layers of thick cloth. Jace wore a hood low over his face. Ilaria smeared soot across her cheeks to hide her silver skin's shine. But even with disguises, the stares came. Whispers followed them like shadows. That's the child. I heard he glows. I heard the human made him a weapon. Kill them before the plague spreads. Jace kept his hand near his weapon at all times. His eyes scanned every rooftop, every alley. Then, as they turned a corner, gunfire. Shots rained down from above. A bounty squad had found them. Move! Jace shouted, pulling Ilaria behind a broken stall. Kyle dove to the ground, hiding behind a crate. One hunter dropped from the roof, blade in hand. Jace didn't hesitate. He fired once, clean, quick, straight to the hunter's shoulder. The alien collapsed with a scream. Another came from the left. Kale panicked. His eyes lit up, golden bright. Suddenly, the attacker's weapon melted in their hands. They screamed in confusion. What was that? Ilaria cried. Jace pulled Kale close. His energy's getting stronger. Kale looked scared. I didn't mean to. It just happened. I know, Jace said, but we need to run, now. They escaped into the lower bazaar levels. Dusty tunnels beneath the city full of old traders, half-legal dealers, and forgotten machines. It smelled like rust and fire oil. There, they met someone Jace once knew. Her name was Zani, an old smuggler, with a metal leg and a heart of half ice, half gold. Why should I help you, she asked, lighting a small pipe. You're hot. Burning hot. Anyone seen with you gets a price on their head. I saved your life once, Jace said. That was years ago. I need one favor, get us off this planet. Zani looked at the boy, who stared back with glowing eyes. Is that the hybrid? She whispered. Yes, Jace said. Zani stared. For a long time. Then, she stood. Follow me. She led them to an old cargo ship hidden in a hangar under her shop. It's slow, but off-grid, she said. No tracker. It'll take you to the old mining moon. No patrols there. Jace nodded. That's good enough. Suddenly, alarms rang out across the bazaar. Zani turned pale. They're scanning for your DNA. You triggered it when you came in. Jace swore under his breath. How much time? 2 minutes. He turned to Ilaria. Get Kale on the ship. Now. She ran, carrying the boy inside. Jace stayed back, grabbing a shock rifle. Zani looked at him. You're gonna hold them off? Someone has to. Zani nodded once. You've still got guts. 10 bounty hunters stormed into the hangar. Jace stood at the entrance. This is your last chance, one of them shouted. Hand over the child. Jace grinned. Come and try. The battle was brutal. Jace took down 4 before they reached him. Zani helped from above, firing from the walkway. Jace got hit in the side but stayed standing. Finally, the ship engines roared to life. Ilaria appeared at the ramp. Jace! He limped backward, bleeding, covering the ramp. The final hunter raised his gun, aimed at Kyle. Then Kyle screamed. A wave of golden energy exploded from the ship, blasting the hunter across the room. Everyone froze. Kyle stood there, eyes bright, arms out glowing like a small sun. Jace stared in shock. That's not just power, that's control. The ramp closed. The ship lifted off. Jace collapsed beside Ilaria and Kale, wounded but alive. As the stars filled the window, Kale looked up. Why are they all scared of me? He asked softly. Jace took his hand. Because they don't understand. You. Will I hurt people? Only if you choose to, but you're not alone anymore. Kale leaned against his mother, and for the first time in days he smiled. The promise kept. It was supposed to be the end. Jace was bleeding, the ship was damaged, and Kale was unconscious again, his glow flickering like a dying flame. Ilaria was kneeling beside her son, tears streaming down her cheeks, whispering his name over and over. But then, the ship shook. Not from damage, from something outside. Jace limped to the cockpit window and looked out into the sky, and his eyes went wide. Fleet, an entire alien fleet, hovering in low orbit over the mining moon. Black ships, red insignias. The Black Order had followed them. They found us, Jace said, voice hollow. Ilaria rushed to his side. How? The ship was untraceable. Kale's energy. It's too strong. They're tracking him, not us. The ship's warning lights flashed. The engines were too damaged to escape again. They had nowhere left to run. Then Kale stirred. He opened his eyes slowly. Weak, tired, but calm. They're here for me, right? He asked. Jace nodded slowly. Yeah, but they'll have to go through me first. Kale sat up straighter. No, this time I'll protect you. Before Jace or Ilaria could stop him, Kale stood, glowing brighter than ever before. He walked to the center of the ship. The walls vibrated around him. Old wires came to life. Lights flickered in rhythm with his pulse. He closed his eyes, and the entire ship rose into the air on its own. No way, Jace muttered. Kale whispered something in a language neither of them understood. A second later, a shield burst from the ship, pure energy, circling them like a bubble of golden fire. Outside, the enemy fleet opened fire, but the blasts bounced off the shield like pebbles. Kyle raised his hand, and the enemy ships began to shut down, one by one. Their weapons dimmed, their engines failed, and in just moments, the whole fleet floated powerless in space. Kale collapsed, his strength spent. Jace caught him before he hit the floor. You did it, he said softly. You stopped them. I don't want to hurt anyone, Kale whispered. But I won't let them hurt us either. Weeks passed. The ship landed safely on a peaceful moon far from the conflict. Green skies, quiet winds, life. Kale recovered slowly, but his powers now slept inside him, waiting. The universe had felt his energy, and the galaxy would remember. But here, he could be a boy again. One morning, Ilaria sat with Jace near a small fire, Kale, sleeping under a tree. She looked at the human man who had risked everything for a stranger's child. You changed everything, she said quietly. Jace shook his head. No, he did. She looked down. I promised I would do anything and anything at all, if you helped him. Jace gave a small smile. You don't owe me anything. But I do, she said. Not just for saving him, but for staying. She reached into her robe and pulled out a small silver band, alien-made, worn by those who choose to bond, not by law, not by blood, but by trust. This is not just a symbol, she said. It's a vow, a new life, a family. Jace looked at her, then at Kale, and for the first time in years, he felt something warm deep inside. Not adrenaline, not survival, peace. As the sun rose over the alien hills, the small family sat together, no longer fugitives, no longer alone, just a mother, her child, and the human who kept his promise.